welcome to this evening's webinar on optimizing social media platforms for churches. I am going to kind of do a quick talk through a couple of platforms with some tips and tricks and sort of just things to think about and how you can improve your platform, sort of what type of content to create. And then at the end, I'll try and kind of go through it relatively quickly. They do tell me if I'm going too fast, but I will, at the end, what we can do is if you've got any questions that are specific to either a specific platform or a particular problem that you've got, or just a question or anything, we'll have a bit more time for discussion, and yeah, hopefully we won't be too long. So hello, my name is Hannah. As Carl's already done a very lovely introduction to me. I'm a digital missioner for SWBA, EMBA and the Changemakers new digital agency that we're setting up. I am just passionate about using online for kingdom building, gospel sharing and discipleship making. So I look predominantly at kind of social media and how we can use it, but just passionate about it all. I've done a number of previous webinars that Carl has shared in the chat box, but if you want to look them up in particular, got a couple, so social media, the new ministry frontier, I did one on digital resources and hybrid church. If you're on social media, please do find me, there's my handles, but also do engage with the SWBA channels as well. And actually your church, your association, your diocese, or wherever you're based, you know, it's good to just connect with your regional offices and yeah, just engage with what they're creating. So a few things to start with. Obviously, you know, we've come out of a pandemic where everything was all so focused with online, and that was the only way that we could really kind of communicate and engage and express our forms of faith. And now we're sort of in a bit of a mixed time. People are sort of still quite nervous. Some people just want to get on and go back to normal. And at the end of the day, I think you just have to work what works best for you and for your church and the skills and resources that you have to hand. So kind of try not to look at what other people are doing and getting stressed about that. But sort of on that, especially as we're coming out of a time where everyone's online, it's really important not to think too much about the numbers and be focused on suddenly, you know, we're not having as many likes as we were having, or this post hasn't performed as well. They are good indicators, but the numbers at the end of the day, they're more for vanity's sake rather than actually anything of real importance within sort of digital ministry, I think. It is really important to have engagement, but sort of don't get too disheartened when you sort of, you know, some posts just don't perform as well. I wish I came up with this phrase, but one-click evangelism is something that all churches should be encouraging their congregations to engage with. The power of being able to share something that your church creates in one click by just liking, well, 2 clicks of liking and sharing, you know, a post that your church has created. It's so powerful in being able to communicate that out without having to think of it yourself as an individual. It's a great way to share your church's page and, you know, just help to sort of create a better environment of online. So really encourage your congregation that make sure they are all liking all of your whatever platform you're on. You know, are they liking and sharing? If they can like and share some cat memes, I'm pretty sure they should be able to like and share your Sunday service. So really kind of like encourage and make it a point every so often of sort of highlighting that to your church. Whilst text and sharing information is really important, online social media is now going more towards a visual forms of content are performing higher, or they perform better, and especially video. So wherever possible, try to use some sort of imagery within what you're doing. Keep things visual. You can have you know, sort of important texts and links and further information in text boxes, but sort of you make sure that if you're posting something, try to always have some sort of image going up there as with the post as well. Be authentic in a time where we can all have kind of like alter egos, also other personalities online. So many people are becoming aware of that and not believing everything that comes out online, or sort of thinking everything's slightly edited, which I mean it is edited, but sort of it's so different from what the person is like who is actually posting it. So try to sort of keep authentic. You don't always have to be happy, clappy, cheery all the time. Sometimes it's really powerful being vulnerable and honest about experiences that we're facing. So yeah, authenticity as well is really important in building that relationship and community. Build a posting schedule. It is, and I'm guilty of this myself, it is one of the sort of worst things in sort of losing momentum within the algorithm of posting several times, and that's really good, and you're building sort of attention and said sort of connecting into the algorithm, and then you stop posting for a week, 2 weeks, and suddenly you lose all of that kind of momentum, and it's so much harder to then build it up again. So have a posting schedule, be realistic, but don't don't overwhelm yourself with thinking that you've got to post 5 times a day, but sort of something that will consistently grow, and people know, oh right, we should expecting a post today or tomorrow. And it helps you to have an idea of then what you how much content you need to create. Also, keep consistency with your names across the platforms. That's one of the sort of, again, the sort of biggest ways of sort of losing engagement with online, of people trying to tag you, but you've got kind of, say for SW Baptist, say we were SWA on one platform, and then on another we were Southwest Baptist Association, and then on another SWE BAP ASOC or something. People will then get really confused as to if we're the same thing or not. So try to keep it as consistent across the platforms wherever possible. Obviously, with millions and billions of people using online, there's probably, you're not going to get the same name on every platform, but try wherever possible to have something that's similar or as close to being similar, so people know how to tag you. Before we go on as well, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box now. Don't feel you have to wait until the end. Just before I go on, I thought I'd just mention that. Okay, wrong way. So first one is Facebook. Let me move that over a bit. Is Facebook. So obviously Facebook is probably the biggest platform, and it's the one that generally most people will be on, and really it does offer the most variety and resources within the app, within each app. So really, if you're going to have any social media platform, Facebook is probably one of the best ones to go with. Now, the first, there's 2 elements within Facebook. For churches, I would say it is vital to have a Facebook page, or a page within Facebook. And this is it's the best way of broadcasting a lot of the key information that you have to share, you're building community, but it is very much the front-facing window of your church. So as such, obviously, as I said, visual is really important. So make sure that your header and your profile image are of the highest quality sort of resolution as possible. They don't have to be the same image, you can change it, but what can be good is to have a profile image of a logo, and then have your header image as something that's kind of contextually relevant. That could be the outside of your church, the inside of your church. If you've got a lovely picture of the church family together, that's really great as well, for sort of showing people either in terms of the building, sort of what to expect, or of the family of church going, these are the actual people, and this is the church family that you'll expect to meet. So make sure that sort of those are as high quality as possible. And your header as well, because that's obviously going to be one of the most frequently seen images within your page, that actually it can be quite nice to change it seasonally or change it frequently. If you've got an upcoming event, make sure that you've got a banner image for that. So if you look at the SWBA page, we've got our AGM coming up. So we've put the banner up at the top just to remind people that that's happening. And it doesn't matter how often you change it. I mean, you don't want to be changing it like every week necessarily, but it is nice to keep it sort of updated frequently. And the about section is hugely important as well, because this is sort of, if someone's looking at your page for the first time, this will be where they kind of see the key information, to make sure that it is all up to date. Have you got the latest services? Are you just online? Are you now back on site and in the building? Do you have kids groups? Are you more contemporary, or is it more traditional? Do you have activities going on throughout the week? What can people get involved in? Have you got a map? So Facebook, though sometimes it does seem to be a bit tricky and it doesn't always seem to like it, but are you able to have a map pin on in the about section? It should let you put it in so that actually people know exactly where to find you. And yes, key activities as well, if there's things throughout the week, can people hire your building? I think that, or if there is disability access or not disability access, a lot of church buildings are old, and actually that's sort of a really tricky thing to do instantly. So actually, should people be aware that it is a awkward place to park, and then you have to walk into the building, things like that. It's just helpful things that people sort of find useful to know, and the fact that you've offered it without them having to search for it is really good. So if you look at your Facebook page, and I'm not sure if I actually took a screenshot of it, so we can talk, I can show it later on. But if you look at your Facebook page, you've got kind of the about, videos, photos, events, and there's lots of sort of tabs at the top. Adjust that so that you so that the most frequently visited are there. So you want kind of the about being the first one. Photos or videos are quite good. If you are regularly creating events, that's great. If you're not, it's better to kind of, you can hide them. You don't want them always coming up. If your last event was sort of Easter 2018 or something, actually that can be more damaging than helpful having it up there. So adjust them to the things that you want people to see. If you've got groups or community that you want sort of people to engage with, adjust that more towards the top. Really focus on it being a space to build community. Don't just go, join us on a Sunday, join us on a Sunday, join us on a Sunday, but ask questions and make sure to respond to comments. So I do say a couple of suggestions in a minute, but if you're asking kind of what's a favorite Bible verse and people are responding, like them, comment back at people saying, oh, it's a great verse, love that. Oh, that's not one that we hear so often. Or, what a great photo, thank you for sharing. Obviously, if people, there is always the issue of trolls or people sort of commenting negatively. It's always great to have kind of like a bit of a procedure or sort of policy on how you respond to that. But actually, sometimes it can be a really powerful opportunity to connect with someone, and actually sort of you end up coming out of a discussion with them that they're not really angry at you, they're just angry at something else, and you can help to kind of build a bit of a relationship with them. If you're still live streaming, which hopefully people still are, though it seems sort of more and more people are stopping, make sure to engage with people during the live stream. There's nothing kind of worse than watching sort of a group of people having time together. They're all able to say hi and chat and hug, and you're sort of not able to be there, and you're watching it and there is no one talking to you as you're sort of commenting back or wanting to engage in the service. So make sure that if you're live streaming, that you've got someone who's managing it. They don't need to sort of say loads of things, but just sort of welcome to the service. Great to have you join us online, and asking people if there is prayer that they can offer, or if someone comments, responding to those questions or comments. Do you know your audience. So do you look at the insights that Facebook offers you, and you can see kind of where people are based, their ages, their sort of optimum times of being online. If you've got say people of an older generation online, they're unlikely to be getting onto Facebook first thing in the morning. Perhaps theirs is mid-morning and early afternoon. Whereas younger people might be going on before work or lunchtime and then in the evening. So if you know who your sort of primary audience on Facebook is, who the audience are, that you can sort of tailor the timings of postings. And actually you could post, you know, even if you have to schedule them, you could schedule posts for 6 a.m. so that when people are looking at them at 7, 8 o'clock, that actually it's going to be sort of some of the first things that they see. And then groups. So whilst Facebook pages are a great kind of like front garden, the front porch of your church, people being able to kind of like see a kind of general sort of idea of what's going on. And Facebook groups are a fantastic sort of room within your house of the church, and it allows for people to become a lot more sort of intimate and build deeper relationships and deeper friendships and get to know each other better without a sort of that space within the platform is better, more conducive to that. But equally, actually, if you've got more sort of private or closed groups, that actually people feel that they're able to share a bit more. So utilize the group feature for different groups, interests, activities. So you could have people who are the sort of kids and young families, or kids and young children, so that could be the parents or the kids themselves, like if they're over the age of being able to be online. But you know, it could be a space where actually you could offer advice, resources, you know, things to think about throughout the week, games, places to go. You know, so coming up the summer holidays, here are 5 affordable things to do within sort of our area that you can do this summer. It's a great way for people, then people go, oh, we went this place here, don't go this place, it was really expensive, or actually it was really tricky for kids if you've got pushchair, or actually it was great for the older kids. So you can have them for sort of different interests without it kind of feeling like there's loads of things being talked about. So again, you could break it down into worship, so particularly for sort of worship lovers or musicians who want to share sort of new songs that they're learning, or actually it's the music group and they want to be sharing, actually can we add this into the play, like our set lists and stuff. Or we're just all fans of gardening, let's have a gardening group that people can share their gardens and tips and tricks and advice and things. And those become then kind of like sub discussion places where people can share their interest without feeling sort of overwhelming. But the important thing is, because you could have lots of different groups and lots of conversation, encourage there sort of to be group leaders to sort of take control of the group, not control, but sort of direction of the group, so that they're the ones kind of either leading conversations or sort of facilitating a space where people are kind of being prompted a bit more. Now, again, the sort of the trouble or the sort of just challenge with online and on site is that often they can feel two separate spaces. So if you've got something that's sort of Sunday service discussion or something, general church chat, or I don't know, some group like that, up to you. Could you offer it in a, could you offer things that have happened on site? So saying, you know, what do people, maybe not what do people think of the sermon, but, you know, what questions do people have of the sermon? What, you know, what do people find challenging? What do people find encouraging? And actually people then are kind of encouraged to reflect about the Sunday sermon, and they're not just sort of forgetting it as soon as they've had the coffee and left the building. But actually it's a place where they're sort of, you know, things are being brought up. Someone says, oh, I thought about this. Someone else might have sort of not quite understood it that way. And you sort of expand upon what is being taught on a Sunday. Or you could sort of do it the other side of prepping things, so that when the sermon happens on a Sunday, that actually people are sort of like, oh yeah, I've had this sort of, I've been thinking about these things and these things, and actually then the sermon has sort of been a lot more relevant in that, because I've been prepared and thinking that way. And you could also, you know, offer it as a place of sort of support and prayer, or celebration, where people feel that actually if they're part of something on site, that they can share it online, but equally if they're sharing it online, that they're able to celebrate it on site, or sort of, you know, it just allows that kind of interweaving between the two. So yeah, there are so many things you can do within Facebook groups, and you could do a whole webinar just on groups. You know, if you're having Bible studies, you can do sort of modules within Facebook groups, so you can actually set up resources specifically, so each week or something, each week or session, something, you know, you've got different resources coming up. You can actually schedule videos within it. You can have rooms so that you've got sort of video discussions within that. So groups are fantastic, and you can have sort of, I think, something like 150 groups for a page, which, I mean, no one wants that administrative stress, but it just shows that actually you can have it for so many different things. So post ideas for Facebook. Again, as I said, you know, Facebook probably offers the most variety of things. So mix up your content, show pictures and videos of people, share links, repurpose content from other platforms, or share from other, share content from others. Just make sure that you're not sort of just trying to sell a Sunday, and you're just sort of only posting that people need to come to the building on a Sunday. Create it as, sort of facilitate it as a space of building community. Said share content from others, you know, link to your mission partners. What charities, whether local or international, are you supporting, and how can you raise awareness for them? Do people know what's going on? Do people like your congregation, like their pages, so that actually you're helping to share the good work that the church is doing, so that if you've had a coffee morning to raise money for Christian Aid, actually are you tagging and sharing Christian Aid and things, so that actually people are engaging with Christian Aid, knowing what we're doing all of these activities for. When you've got events and gatherings, take pictures of them, you know, get other people to take pictures, get people to kind of share pictures of the events or things that are happening. Obviously, from a safeguarding perspective, make sure that you've shared that you will be taking pictures, and making sure that everyone who's in pictures are okay to be in pictures. But you know, it's a really lovely way to celebrate, or just sort of show who gathers within the church buildings. You could do summaries of week activities, so saying, we're looking forward to this week, we've got kids group, we've got brownies, we've got scouts, we've got girls brigade, we've got coffee morning, we've got gardening on sites, we've got the Sunday service in the morning, we've got Sunday service in the evening, we've got the picnic. We'd love for you to join us these, but actually people then have a bit of an idea as to the sorts of things that go on in the church. Spotlight those serving within the church. So obviously churches are made up, you know, by sort of paid serving leaders, but often there are so many who serve that are volunteers, and probably many have done it for years and years and years, and many don't know who those people are. So it can be really lovely to kind of celebrate someone for the work that they do, even if it's something as kind of fairly boring, even though it's not, but sort of, you know, as less kind of front facing, something like they just come in and clean every Monday, and they've done this for years and years, and you know, it's, no one really realizes that dear Doris comes in and does it, but you know, the church couldn't sort of, you know, really function if she didn't do it. So it's a lovely way to kind of show the different ways that people can serve. It's also a great way then if you're trying to sort of do a bit of a recruitment drive for people to sort of join in the teams, that actually you can kind of like do a bit of an interview, say, why do you do this? How long have you done this for? You know, how can people pray for you? How can people support you? It's a great way to kind of like build that sort of more interest within those roles. You could also do prayer requests. So at the moment, Hayley, who's our president of the Baptist Union. She's doing it every Monday. She puts out a post saying, how can people, or how can I pray for people? And it's a really lovely way of, one, just sharing kind of, this is what we believe. We do believe that prayer is, powerful, and, God can change people's lives through prayer, or, it can be an encouragement, it can be a celebration of thanks, putting out a call for prayer. People feel that they're able to, people feel that they are able to connect, to share something themselves, and just feel like that they're going on a bit of a journey with the church then. I mean, that is not sort of a be all and end all list. I will mention a resource at the end, but that's sort of just a bit of an idea. And obviously that's then not including videos, because you could turn kind of most of these things then into videos as well. Any questions specifically on Facebook at the moment? I've seen that is a question. I will answer that one, Barbara, at the end, if that's okay. So bear with me one second. So YouTube, whilst technically not a social media platform, it is, I think, a really important tool that actually it interlinks with a lot of the other platforms, but also actually I think is a space that is severely underutilized or optimized from churches, and as well now, because we're so focused with being back in the building, that the kind of like thinking about it, like, so YouTube presence isn't really bothered about. And I should have checked it. It is the biggest, after Google, it is the biggest search engine, I think. Carl's nodding his head. But it is a great way of linking in sermons or videos that you have with the questions that people are asking. And if you think about kind of, especially a lot of young people who may be feeling anxious or have questions that they want answered about the world, how powerful would it be if they could find kind of our videos on various topics, and making your platform in that way look as sort of interesting as possible is beneficial. So again, header image and logo, or sort of the profile image. Again, the profile image could be your logo, and the header image to make it interesting. I've got a couple of examples in a minute, but sort of, again, this could be, you don't really want it to be an event banner unless it's like a big event, like Baptist Assembly or something like that, where that's reaching thousands of people. But actually you could have kind of when people can expect videos to come up, where you're based, if there's a particular heart that you feel missionally and ministerially, and that your church sort of looks at, but again, high quality wherever possible. And the about section, so this doesn't need to be sort of as in depth as, say, the Facebook section, but it's always really good to say kind of who you are, where you are, when your key services are, and sort of what type of service that people can expect, or what type of videos that people can expect. Make sure that you're linking to your websites and your social media platforms. Again, I've got an example of that in a second. But if people are watching your videos, actually, how can they connect with you? How can they then be social with you and sort of engage with you, be part of they be a part of your community? Create playlists. So if you've got sermon series, or you've got kind of sermons, but then you've got community videos, or say spotlight videos, make sure that they're in their playlist, so that actually it's easier to share. It's quite useful then. Oh, we finished this sermon series. If you'd like to catch up with any, or you haven't been here, or you just want to listen to it again because it was so great, here you can watch the entire playlist. Intro videos are really good as like a kind of promo for the church, what people can expect, a bit of a kind of who's who, or navigation around the church building can be really good. But again, it'll make a bit of sense when I show you the screen grabs in a minute. And again, look at your analytics, see what people are searching for, where are they based. You can see kind of certain demographic information. So actually it might help you to think about the types of content, or at least from a visual perspective, what type of content you want to create. So we've got just two examples here, but I mean, there's so many more that sort of are good, and there so many are different, so there's not one best way to do it. But on the HTB one here, they've got a kind of it's an introduction to the video, to the Sunday service, but actually you often have the intro videos here where it can kind of say, hey, this is who we are. They've got upcoming live streams, they've got playlists, but they've got an interesting image that shows the inside of the church, and it sort of creates a bit of anticipation for what people might expect. And then it is a bit small, but if you can see here, they've got HTB website, they've got Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Spotify. Now, it's not that you need to have all of them, but actually it's really good that if someone's on there that they say, oh, I can find them on Facebook, and they can just click to it rather than needing to search. And rediscover church here. So if you look down on, if you're on the HTB one, if you look at all of their thumbnails, they're actually sort of quite dark with a very simple white title on the thumbnail, whereas Rediscovers is lots of different sort of people's faces. You can see lots of different styles. So these videos here are obviously going to be a bit more informal, whereas these ones are going to be sort of services or sermon series, and a bit more kind of on the more performance end of the scale from a video perspective, which are all good, but it just sort of builds a bit of diversity and interest with them, but also where they've got the titles. And again, down here, at least you can see sort of what to expect. Then the videos themselves. So make sure to title them properly. This is, again, one of the like biggest frustrations I have with videos, where it says, we'll make it as simple, sort of SWBA sermon. Well, what does that mean? You know, no offense, no one is going to be looking for SWBA sermon. That's not going to interest people to look for it. You want to have a title as being a sort of an answer to a question that people are likely to be searching for. So you could have it as what does God say about hope? Because that's likely to be sort of, how can I get hope, or how to be hopeful, sort of are likely to be questions that people might answer. What does God say about debt, or how to manage debt as a Christian, or mental health for Christians, or what does God say about love, or whatever the title might be, but just make it something that's going to be relevant to people searching for questions. And utilize keywords within that as well, to make sure that sort of it's not a sort of generic or specific things like your church name and a date, where that means nothing. Thumbnail. So again, as I just said in the last slide, of that sort of, don't use the automated screen grabs all the time, because that actually doesn't create interest. Have specific thumbnails that you can sort of add a title in, make it a little bit more interesting, add some color to it. And you can do it on Canva, which is free and really easy, and you can have loads of examples and templates to use from. Add content into the description section. So make sure to include the Bible verses that you're reading from. Who is it that's speaking? I don't know who this guy is. Is he the minister? Is he just a guest speaker? Is he an elder, a deacon, or a visitor, or a new student, or whoever? Or she, but actually give explain who's speaking, and add sort of consistent contact details at the bottom. So website, other social links, a bit sort of, if people want to find out more, here's a link to the about section. Use tags as well, so make sure that they are you're trying to add as many keywords into the descriptions. Closed captions are really recommended wherever possible, because that helps to create it allows as many people as possible to watch it or engage with it without sort of being restricted for disabilities or things that, if people can't actually access sound, I don't know, speakers broken or something. File titles, a really specific thing, but make sure that your title is not just like 29/07/2021 11:45 or something like that, that again is very unspecific. But make sure that you turn the title within the video before you upload it onto Facebook, because the algorithms still pick up those things, so that can really help. And use cards within, when you're uploading videos, you can add in links to either external websites or previous videos. So if you want to say, hey, welcome to week 4 of our sermon series, here, you know, if you haven't watched the previous ones, here you can watch them on our YouTube channel, and you can add a little card at the top that adds them in. I am just conscious of time, so I'm going to whiz through it a little bit faster. So I don't mean to like call out this church, but these are the thumbnails from a church, and there is nothing, I don't mean to sort of call out and shame them, because the sermons themselves were good, but actually, are you likely to click on that when it's a table? You know, it's not really very interesting compared to these videos here, where they've sort of color themed slightly. You can see who's speaking, it's got a title in it, and it's a bit more engaging. So wherever possible, you know, just try and make them a little bit more enticing. So post ideas, so you could have sermons, behind the scenes setups for events, you know, actually have a little bit of a time lapse of decorating the church for Christmas, or if you've got a party or something, sort of special service happening, can always be really nice. You know, do a navigation around the church. If you've got a new building project, or actually are you sort of likely to be welcoming new people into the church? Can you sort of do a bit of a sort of welcome to the building, and here's how to park, and here's where to go in. Could you do interviews with the church family? So asking questions like why they're Christian, what your favorite Bible verses, worship songs, you know, what ministries do they serve in, whether that is within the church or within their lives throughout the rest of the week, that you can highlight and encourage sort of a bit of a, again, the sort of spotlight on people within your church. Try shorts. So that is the sort of newer feature within Facebook over, I suppose, the last year, I think it's been, that are kind of under a minute long videos. They're more vertical as opposed to sort of better functioning as the landscape videos, but they allow for sort of just a quick highlight. So whether you use a snippet from a sermon, or again, the sort of spotlights could be done really quickly, and they're just quite a nice sort of short, sharp ways. Easier to create it's easier to create content when there are shorter pieces of content, but they're quite nice to sort of just building a bit of a relationship with those who watch your channel. So Instagram, I will go through this really quickly, I promise. So again, create an interesting bio. So where are you based? What kind of church are you? What type of people or community do you serve? You create something that is a bit more interesting, but actually utilize the bio section of links, so people could engage with your website. Don't have it too text heavy. So again, Instagram is visual. You don't want to put a poster that's got loads of stuff and loads of links within the image, because they won't work within the post. So try to sort of reduce posts. If you've got a poster or you're trying to promote an event, try and create something, you know, an additional image or graphic that has reduced text in it. But if you have to put loads in, so try and break it up so you've got 3 or 4 posts, and actually you can create into a carousel, and that's sort of more engaging when it's broken up. Don't repeat posts too often. So don't try and put the same one sort of every other day, because actually that creates a bit of a repetitive feed, and that's not as interesting. So if you follow the SWBA pages, we've been doing a kind of pray for our churches, and I'm looking at it now going, that's a lot of blue. So I might change up the color slightly, even though the image, the text within the posts themselves are different, and it does at first glance look quite the same. So we might kind of change the color slightly, so it sort of changes the style of content. a bit. Use the stories features to share behind the scenes, so whether that's kind of cafe and the kids group are open, oh, I can't wait for church to start. It doesn't have to be as sort of refined or as perfectly shot as the feed posts do. The stories are a great way of sort of bit of engagement, and you can share things from other platforms or from other users and engage a bit through that way. If you're going to use hashtags, put them in the comments. Again, that can sort of just help to create a better visual appearance. And I mentioned hashtags a bit at the end. So post ideas. So you've got kind of posts, stories, lives, and reels. So posts are obviously the static feed. Stories are the short forms, ephemeral content that go after 24 hours. You've got live, which obviously is live videos, and reels, which are the shorter videos. Or they are videos that you don't necessarily want to put a sermon in there, but they're great if you're using a bit like the kind of the shorts from YouTube, if you're creating short kind of summaries or quick run around of church before it starts. You know, people can wave. There's quite a nice way of sort of a bit of interest in using kind of viral sounds or things that are in the Instagram audio library, I suppose you'd call it. It's a great way of kind of tagging alongside that and being able to create from there. Do photo dumps, and I'll explain that in a second. But it's a great way if you've, again, got events happening. It's a great way to share loads of events, put them in carousels, but create a bit of a kind of like a series of photos. Behind the scenes, it's always nice to sort of see what's happening before the Christmas services. If you've got kids camp happening, what can you show that's going on before and there? While there's, you know, if there's people investing loads of time and energy and resources into creating activities for kids, this can be really nice to see. Can you ask church family for photos? So could you say, we'd love to see pictures of the church site throughout the year, please take pictures and share them with us. Or, you know, what does Christmas look like for you? We'd love to see everyone's Christmas trees. Things like that. I don't know why I'm talking so much about Christmas. It's still quite a way away, but I'm thinking about it already. But also you could offer takeovers for ministry groups. So could you have your youth group take over your Instagram for a week, and they could share, you know, actually what as a youth group they get up to, what does the youth minister get up to, what does your worship leader do, you know, how does he prepare for a week, prepare for a Sunday. And that could be a really nice way to sort of just show who does what throughout the week. So again, so Rediscovered Church again, so they've got pictures of their church family, but then obviously they've got some text, but it's not we're hiring and then sharing loads of information in it. They'll have done it as a carousel so that you click on it and you'll see more information. There's a quote there that's a reel, so that's looking a little bit more sort of less posed, but it will create interest because people want to click on it. Whereas obviously these are nice kind of more professionally shot photos. They've also utilized highlights to sort of group certain images together. So the photo dump is sort of, this is what I mean by it, of so this is Baptist Assembly. Oh, it's only last month, wasn't it? Good, I couldn't be there, but it's sort of series of photos from you know, different points throughout the day. So whether they're grouped within certain speakers, certain themes, they could all be in kind of one photo or one post, but actually it's a really lovely way of having a feed that sort of just highlights a number of different aspects within it, and creates a bit of sort of momentum when you've got an opportunity to use loads of images. Twitter, I'll really briefly talk about this. So this is more individual and professional, yet it is great for community building across sort of either your country, county, or globally. Use it to connect with local businesses, councils, organisations, as well as your national bodies, or local individuals. So it might not be that you sort of evangelise as much to the people online, but actually it can be a great way for idea generation, connecting, and just sharing those who are, say, ministry partners or other associations, other churches. It can be really valuable sort of from a professional perspective. So post ideas for Twitter, and sort of highlighting more community events and more of sort of your area and what's going on there. For those who are online or those who are on Twitter, you know, it can be really nice to put sort of encouraging words, quotes or Bible verses, or even sort of quotes or clips from your sermons. So that's on here. So something like LICC, they've got sort of praying for people. Here's sort of team. That's really sort of a nice way of highlighting people, you know, who are part of your organizations. Tagging in people, you know, suggestions for books, worship, music, or resources or things, or good news stories, like we've got here from SWBA. So again, but it's visual, it's people, it's places, and tagging people in. So again, it's sort of allowing people to engage with what's being created. Other things, and then I will finish. Have a digital strategy. It is vital for sort of online success, of even if it's not going to guarantee you're going to have sort of hundreds of thousands of viral posts and likes and everything, but just in sort of understanding what to create, and sort of who you're trying to target. Having a digital strategy is sort of just, it's a vital piece of sort of your online work. Hashtag, create a bank of certain hashtags, but make sure that they're relevant. Don't overuse them, or don't use too niche hashtags that actually then people aren't likely to use it. So you want things like Christian, God, Bible, hope, love, you know, area. So Devon, Plymouth, Dorset, or so things that people would be likely to look up. Following followers, and so make sure that actually you are following lots of people. That can be a great way to build a bit of a sort of connection, because people are more likely to follow you back. Frequently, or try not too frequently, but go through sometimes who you're following, because actually they may have been bots, or they may you know, they may not be functioning accounts anymore. So that can help if you just sort of rejiggle every so often. Resources and webinars, do go and check them back if like our other webinars, if you need a bit of help with other aspects of your online sort of strategies and sort of activities. Link all your platforms to your website. So if people find you through your website, it's great for them to be able to connect with you online, but then you don't want it the other way of not being able to find you and them having to search for you. And build a team. It's a lot to ask people to do online on their own. So make sure that you've got, you know, young people. Have you got some younger people who are sort of sensible, reliable and mature, able to take responsibility for something, but actually this could be a fantastic opportunity to give them an opportunity, you know, a ministry of connecting and creating online. You can't do it alone. So make sure that you've got people around you helping you. And thank you for listening. Any questions? I'm sorry that was so much longer than I thought that would be. Once I get talking, I kind of struggled to stop.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Hannah. Absolute star. And there are some questions. Just so that you're aware, in the chat box will be various links. The digital revolution is one of the national priorities for Baptists Together, and we did Pecha Kucha at the Baptist Assembly, which is a 6-minute 40-second presentation with some PowerPoint slides. So if you want to watch that, the link is there. And if you are interested in the SWBA social media channels, they're all in the chat box as well there, and so you can have a little look at them and catch up on some of Hannah's work, or critique mine. If it's good, it's Hannah's. If it's dodgy, it's mine. That's the way it works as far as our team goes. And I'm going to run some questions past you because there's a few that have come in. The first one was from Barbara, and there's a couple have asked about this in terms of how you can automatically schedule and program posts to go out. So I'm guessing that you might want to comment about how to do that natively within each platform, but maybe you also want to make mention of Buffer and Hootsuite. Someone particularly said, what's the best third party for scheduling? So over to you on that one to begin with.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, best thing really is to try and up schedule within the apps, because they like it, because you're doing it within the app stuff. So Facebook and Twitter you can do. Instagram I don't think you can. But yeah, Facebook and Twitter you definitely can do with that within the apps. It's a bit kind of clunky to find it exactly, but there is a way that when you've got the post, it will say like schedule, post now, or you sort of can do the arrow down and it says schedule. So you can do them within those two. For Instagram, yeah, I don't think you can schedule within it, but using yes, Carlsberg said, I mean, you can answer it for me really, couldn't you? Hootsuite or Buffer are probably your best bets. Buffer is definitely the easiest to navigate around, and you can do at least 3 platforms, but you can edit each one so that you're tagging kind of the right organization in, or you know, Twitter you can only have a certain amount of characters, whereas Facebook and Instagram you can have longer, so you can edit them for sort of the different platforms. But yeah, I would say Buffer or Hootsuite, and I will get a link for both of them.
Crack on with questions, because I could get the links for them.
All right then, yeah.
And Jude, the Buffer is cheaper. Both of them do charity discounts, but Buffer is cheaper, is the bottom line. So in answer to that question, whilst I'm just getting those links up, Hannah, questions come in just about how do you access the analytics on Facebook? Is there a way that maybe you can share screen on that one possibly and show actually how to access the analytics? So that'd be quite useful for people to see, not just how to access it, but the type of analytics that you can get, because it's pretty interesting if that's a possibility.
Yes, that is. Let me just upload my Facebook and change. I was just trying to think, who can I show it on? That's fine, I'll show you it on my business page one that is not good. I'll be honest. If it will load, come on. There we go. Right. So can you see this Facebook page? Cool.
Yeah.
So I don't do as much as I should do on this page. But this is what if you are an admin to a page, this is what it should look like for you. And literally it's just on the left here, you see insights. See, Facebook didn't update. I'm not quite sure when. No, I don't like that one actually. They didn't update, and I don't like how they've made it all look, because it keeps taking you to a page that is slightly different, differently laid out. I don't like it as much. So they both be on this side. Yeah, I think this is how it used to look, and it was a kind of a bit nicer to see. So to be honest, I don't post anything on this page at the moment, so engagement rates are really low, but you can see then if there was action on the page, so that would be sort of people just liking, clicking, commenting, so you'd have things there, you'd have page views, page likes. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? But it's sort of these are all the different things that you can see, and it will essentially, they will just look like that, whether it's going up, going down. But this is what I mean by, you don't want to be so driven by solely looking at your insights and analytics that it dictates how you engage and you respond and create online. It's a good indicator. And like this, I can see no one's engaging. I need to post more, and that's my fault. But that's just the business page at the moment sort of hasn't really been a priority, so I've not done it. But actually I can see that if I was to have all sorts of different things, and then you can see kind of the followers, so you can see if it goes up or down. They do go down. Likes, so it will tell you sort of, oh, you've had this many likes over this time. And yeah, it's really good. Like, it's always good to just have a look around and just sort of see what's going on, get an idea of sort of what to expect, and sort of go from there. You can make a note of, it's kind of good to make a note of how many likes you've got, and actually sort of what are the either reach is good as well, or because that goes beyond just your likes, but how far the posts are reaching people, which is great for thinking about sharing. Or actions on page, actually, are you having people clicking? Are people clicking onto your website? Are people commenting? Are people you know, they're not clicking, but they're sort of liking the posts and stuff. So that is where you can find them. And yeah, it's good to have an idea of what's going on there, but don't sort of be too focused by them.
Well, thank you. Hopefully that's helpful. Go and have a play.
Yes.
You know where to find them. Yeah, you can get properly hung up on them, get addicted to the analytics, but we shall do your head in eventually, I think. But ultimately it is quite helpful, and similarly most of the sites, one way or another, you can analyze various different bits of information. Another question with regard to YouTube: is there a way that you can add closed captions after you've already added and published a video on YouTube, or is the only way to do it as you are publishing for the first time?
Let me have a look. I mean, I wouldn't, in the first instance, I wouldn't be too stressed about past ones, just sort of for the future. Try to, but give me 2 seconds and I can have a look. It's also actually really good how I think I read it right, that the closed captions is really good for non-English speaking, because they can put it on their language. So actually it's really good to just generally reach more people, you know, regardless of whether they're English speaking or not. Let me just check this.
Whilst you're having a little look at that, Hannah was saying you can't schedule from within Instagram, and that's right. I have a feeling, and I'd need to check it, but I think you might be able to do it through Facebook Scheduler. So because the two are linked,
yes,
there's a chance that you can schedule a post to Instagram through the Facebook Scheduler if you wanted to do it native within the app, because they're the same stable.
Meta, yeah. No, that is true. Actually, I'd forgotten about that. I try not to do that because I have a number of Facebook pages and profiles and Instagram accounts that I run. I'm slightly just terrified that I'm going to share an SWBA thing to my dad's town crier page or something, or vice versa. Actually, that would be more scary. So I try not to do that because I'm just worried about it linking to the wrong thing. You can do it, but again, I don't know if they've changed it now, but it used to be it would come up saying like this has been posted from Instagram, which didn't always look quite right, or no, be posted from Facebook. So it's again when you can like people post on Instagram and then you can share it straight to Twitter, but it comes up essentially with like a couple of the words, then sort of ... and then it's just is a link to Instagram rather than the post itself.
That's right, yeah. Brilliant. Excellent. So there's folks that are needing to shoot off, and we'll kind of round it in, but do stick around if you've got any more questions, guys. That would be good.
Yes, yeah. You can edit a video that is already published, and you can add in like subtitles, closed captions, I think, and you can like either upload them, auto sync, or type manually. So you should be able to edit them once they're posted.
Stick around, guys. Janet, we'll talk about WhatsApp in just a second, but I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to stop recording, just so that we keep to time, and if people need to go, they can go. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this whole new way of interacting with the world around us. And Lord, help us to have your heart, your desire to want to communicate your love and compassion, the hope of your kingdom to all people using all means possible. And Lord, I pray that for those in our churches who this is the world that at least in part they live in, God, inspire them to recognize that when they're using social media, they're as much your child, as much your servant, and as much your witness as they are sat next to someone physically in an office space, or on a Sunday morning if they go to a church building. Father, please help us to have your eyes, your ears, your mouth when it comes to our engagement with the digital world, much as it would be in the world around us physically. Lord, help us to recognize, God, not just an opportunity, but also, Lord, to be able to begin to access, Lord, some of these new ways of engaging with people that we would never have been able to do before. Thank you for Hannah. Bless her and her ministry as well. And as people go their separate ways, I pray that they bless them, and inspire those in their church families to get on board with this as well. Amen.